Yo, what's up, you guys? It is Tuesday, July 22nd, and we are back with another TnS Daily review. So, really quick, just jumping right into it. There was a pre-market short here that technically got TP like as 9:30 delivered, but I'm not going to count this one because realistically, I mean, there's just no way that someone is going to just enter this just because the 9:30 candle, tapped back into the short entry. There's just no way. So to keep it realistic, I'm not going to count this one, even though it technically did win as a pre-market setup because the stop loss at the time was basically up here for 35 points, and then uh, it did eventually deliver, even though it was negative R. You can see 29 points. I'm not going to count it, so it'll just be like a honorable mention, I guess. But moving into 9:30, we actually did not have any long setups anywhere here. I know it looks like we might, but we don't because this FEG did have a long setup in it. The entry got tagged in somewhere here in like London session basically. So that means this gap cannot be used. It already got TP. The one down here is actually invalid because it's too close to the edge. Yeah, as you can see, it's 2 points away. So that's not valid, and there's no other long setup past that, down here anywhere. So no long setups, only short setups or new setups that are being created as the price action goes on here. So we don't have any relevant setups until we dip all the way down and we got a slight little bounce. This first short did end up failing. So let me just double check and make sure that this is version 2. Looks like it is because nothing changed. So this one would be a loss because the stop loss for this short would be here. Actually, the higher stop loss, I'm not sure if that one got stopped, but we'll double check that. So here's our two stop losses. The lower entry stop loss right here, the higher one right here. Let's double check if the higher one got stopped. I'm not sure if the higher one did get stopped, actually. So you can see it started to work and then it failed. That's the lower entry getting stopped out there. I just want to fast forward and make sure that the higher entry didn't get stopped. Wow, it looks like it didn't. Jeez. Okay, so let's actually back up. If it didn't get stopped, that means it actually technically never got stopped out until the entire day. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mark this out as trade number 1. The first entry as a loss, and the second entry we'll get to that. So trade number 1 is going to be a loss. And for both versions, because that's the lowest entry. Okay. And actually, you know what? Let me just fast forward and double check if that higher entry ever got stopped at any point throughout the day before I actually go forward with this. So I'm just looking to see if that black line gets stopped. Okay, it did actually. So never mind. So trade number 1 is just going to be a loss for both. And so, yeah, it's just going to be a loss for both. Now backing up to where we actually tapped the short entry, the next setup for the short entry, it did get tapped into to the absolute tick. Right about here, you can see it did tap it in. I know what you're thinking. Well, Plyo, just hit it to the tick. If this hit the stop loss to the tick, you guys would be telling me that it got stopped out. So this will be counted as an entry. Absolutely it will. Let's see if this is version 2. Looks like it is because it doesn't change there when I switch it to version 2, which means this will be counted as a win for both versions because it did come back down and hit the TP. So for the lowest entry here, the TP was for 61 points. Once again, a short right there, basically a snipe. And TP is down there for 61. It did get TP. So trade number 2 for both is going to be a win for 61 points. Okay, so just to show you that it did win. And even if you tried to say, yeah, it did get tagged in there, it definitely got tagged in as time went on. It did get TP as well. As you can see, that low, the TP low is right there. It did get tapped into. Okay, and so moving on from trade number 2, we actually had a long setup down here. So let me back up, right as trade number 2 got tapped into for the entry. You can see there's a long setup down here, and it actually is TnS version 2 as well. The entry for it is there. The TP is up there. And it didn't get tagged in for a while actually. But it finally gets tagged in there, and the TP is now for 35 points. Why is that? It's because this candle tapped the FEG for the very first time. You look to the left, there is no higher high, so it would have been the candle itself as the TP. Since that TP was swept, you wait until TNS gets its entry, and then you look when candles to the left. This high right here would have been the TP for the long for 35 points, and it did get hit without hitting the stop loss. You can see the stop loss for this long is down there, the TP at this black line here, and you can see it did get hit basically for 35 points. So trade number 3 is going to be a win for both for 35 points. Okay, and now just to show you that trade number 3 did end up winning, you can see, remember the TP is up here. You can see the green line. Fast forwarding a little bit, it did get hit. Now, as that one got TP, I do have to back up because we did have a short setup in there. This time only version 1, because if I remove the FEG thing here, you can see there actually is a bearish FEG, but the bearish candle low that overlaps, that is version 1. If I switch this to version 2, it doesn't even show up. Just to show you it's not there, which means it's only version 1, and it was a loss, of course, because the stop loss basically got hit as the other one got TP. So trade number 4 for version 1 is going to be a loss, and once again, this trade number 4 is only for version 1. Okay, and once again, I'm just going to show you that it did lose. You can see the short. Remember, we're only focusing on the short here, the entry there, the stop loss up there. And it did get stopped out once again. So that one was a loss. And moving on, we had a new long setup here that got tapped into at 140. This one absolutely lost. If I'm not mistaken, let's just double check. Yeah, so it did get stopped out. So that one would be both versions really. So it's going to be trade number 5 for TnS version 1. It's going to be trade number 4 for version 2 as a loss. Okay, so once again, that was for this long setup. It was a loss. And I don't think we got anything else after that. Actually, maybe this one. Okay, wait. So this one's kind of cutting it close. We're at 315. Let's see if it gets tagged in. Oh, wow, it got tagged in at 355, so it can't be counted. Looks like it would have lost either way, but unfortunately this one will not be counted because it got tagged in at 355. Remember, our cutoff time is at 350. So if this one had got tagged in at 350, or actually 345, it would have been valid. Unfortunately, it did not tap the entry. It got pretty close. And even if you use version 1, you couldn't have entered this because that the candle high here was too close to the edge. You can only enter off of this bearish candle here for version 2. But unfortunately, it will not be counted because it got tagged in at 355, and that leads us into 4 o'clock, which means it's the end. And these would be our final stats for today. Let's tally it all up and get our final results. All right, so these will be our final results for TnS versions 1 and 2. TnS version 1 with 0.2 R on the day, or minus 0.2 R on the day, minus 9 points, and that's with 2 wins and 3 losses today. And then TnS version 2 with 0.7 R, 26 points, and that's with 2 wins and 2 losses. So pretty much kind of like a small break-even kind of day for version 1. Not exactly break even, but kind of red 9 points, but that's really not too much. And then TnS version 2 with a very small green day, not exactly 1R, but at least it's slightly green. Version 1 with minus 9 points there. So pretty interesting day. Not too many setups for the PM, but I think it was cool to see the long and short play out there. And when we kind of had the middle price action here, how the short played out and the long also won. I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, guys, it's going to wrap it up for this daily review, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.